Mailbag time here on Bears Now. I am Harrison Graham. Buckeye Bear kicks us off. Eddie George mentioned that Chicago likes both Ohio State running backs. Who would you rather have? So, Eddie George, who we briefly talked about this on an episode the other day, but we'll talk about it again. Remember, he interviewed for the Bears head coaching job, which was probably just a Rooney Rule thing, if we're being completely honest. But he said he had a great experience, first class, all that stuff. So good on the Bears there. He did say that both Quenton Judkins and Travion Henderson were on their board, was the word they used. I don't know if they showed him some draft board or running back pecking order, whatever the case may be. But both of the Buckeye running backs are guys I'm interested in. A little bit different flavor. Judkins at Ole Miss hit a few more home runs than he did at Ohio State. They used him in more short yardage spots at times this year, so his yards per carry was a little bit down, but he still was very good. Travion Henderson, obviously the play that stands out there is that screenplay he took to the house against Texas at the end of the first half, so he's got the ability to catch the ball. I think Judkins can too, to be completely honest. They just didn't do it a ton. What I like too is that neither of them just took too many carries this year, right? Like, for example, we all love Ashton Genty. 378 carries this year. Like, that's a lot of potential wear and tear. Henderson had like 40% of that. Judkins had like half. So these guys should be fresh as rookies. And I think both in that third round range, number 72 pick. I think 39-41 could be a little rich, but could depend on how the combine goes. Pick a running back. Who would you rather have? Would you rather have Judkins or Henderson? Type QJ for Quinshon Judkins or TH for Travion Henderson. Benjamin, I know this is a pipe dream, but Trey Smith and Quenton Nelson. Not sure why that got cut off. I would say you're going to have to trade for Nelson unless the Colts cut him, which I guess I can look real quick at his over-the-cap situation if he were to get cut. I don't know why the Colts would want to cut him or trade him. If they cut him, they do save $10 million. If they trade him, they save 10, but they also eat 12. You'd have to trade for him, I'd say, and give a pretty good offer. I probably would not do that. But Trey Smith for sure, and maybe get a Kevin Zeitler or Willie Fries or someone like that. The Kanye Glazer, what a name, especially after what we saw today. Would you rather sign Hollywood Brown for cheap or just try and get whatever you can out of Tyler Scott? I mean, if Hollywood Brown comes at a reasonable price, like if you can get him for like $7 million, I'd probably just do that. And I like Tyler Scott, and maybe this coaching staff will view him very differently, but he couldn't even get on the field last year. So Hollywood Brown's at least a proven commodity in this league. Obviously, this year he missed most of the year with an injury and has been, he's come back and hasn't been a huge factor for the Chiefs, but we know what he brings to the table as a vertical threat and a guy who in space can make things happen. But yeah, if the price is reasonable out of those two, I would rather have Hollywood Brown be my number 3 receiver. Subscribe to Bears Now if you're looking for more free content. If you want your question answered, we go live every Monday and Thursday here on the channel. Chicago Bears Now by Chat Sports is the place to go. So subscribe today for more Bears content. Alan Melendez, any news on Ian Cunnigham? The latest was that they requested to interview him. This is as of filming Friday. Not sure if and when that interview is taking place. I would assume he's going to take the interview, and maybe he already has. But that's where it stands. There was internet rumors that it's his job to lose. Who knows if that's the case, but obviously if he does get the Jags GM job, the Bears would net 2 third-round picks, one this year and one next year. Oh, dude, do you see a scenario where Tev comes back? His last interview seems like he wants out. I would call it a long shot. The scenario would be this. He hits free agency. The market isn't as good as he likes. First wave comes and goes. Maybe he and the Bears revisit. There's still an open guard spot, and they get him on a team-friendly one-year deal. I don't see it beyond that, a scenario really playing out. It only takes one team. I think there's always desperate O-line teams. Some team will give him some money. And, look, I hope he gets paid because he's put in a lot of work. He's done his best to stay healthy. He just hasn't stayed healthy enough. And we know what the type of player he is when he is healthy. But I just feel like new coach, he's a free agent. I think the Bears are going to pivot here. We are sponsored by PrizePicks here on Chicago Bears Now, the big game. If you want to get in on the action and talk trash with your buddies, last football game of the year, get signed up with PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS and play your game today. You set lineups of 2 or more players as long as it's two players on at least 2 different teams, regardless of sport, and you are good to go. That's right. You can have a basketball player in your lineup with a football player, with a soccer player. 2 or more players qualifies for a lineup. You pick more or less on those stat projections that PrizePicks provides, and if you hit, you win money. It's very, very simple. How about a free pick to start one of your next lineups? I like 2-player lineups. They're easier to hit, and I'm halfway home here. Half passing yard from Mahomes, pair that with something else. Boom! You are going to win some money. So check out PrizePicks today. Right now you can win up to 1,000 times your entry on certain lineups, which is absolutely incredible. $10 can turn into $10,000. And if you use our link, prizepicks.com/CLNS, and use the code CLNS if you're a new customer, you're going to get $50 when you set your first lineup for just $5. Win or lose that $5 lineup, you're getting $50 for free into your account to play with. So check out PrizePicks today. Link is in the comments and the description of the video. Wasim Khan, who changed his profile picture recently, what do you think of Jared Wilson, Georgia, for a center? The Eagles have to save us from Kermit, Kelsey, and Taylor Swift. I know I'm in the minority. I actually would like to. Here's my take on the Chiefs real quick. I want to see the three-peat and then have them lose early next year, but that's neither here nor there. Jared Wilson, I want to see what his athletic profile is at the Combine. He feels like a third-ish round pick at center, so we'll see. I don't know if he's a plug-and-play day-one starter, but could he be a guy like if you brought back a Coleman Shelton, right, on a one-year deal, you sign Wilson to be his backup, and then he takes over in 2026? I could see a setup like that. I don't know if he's like I don't think this is a Zach Frazier situation where he plugs in and he's a top half of the league center right away. Dennis, the biggest X factor this offseason is, does Poles and Ben view Braxton as the starting left tackle? If he is, gives us flexibility. If not, another big hole to fill. Yeah, that's a good question. I'm sure those conversations have been had, and I think along with that is how do they feel about his injury status? Because he had some injuries last year. I think it was an ankle injury he ended the year on IR with, so I think he had a surgery, so we'll see what his timeline is. He should be back by training camp, but don't know the exacts there. But, yeah, I mean, I would hope that they at least feel like, okay, worst case scenario, if we trot Braxton back out there, we're okay there, because I do think he's shown enough where, like, if you have to wait another offseason for left tackle, you can. And, look, maybe they view Karan Amagaji as hey, go challenge Braxton this year. Braxton's a starter, but if this guy pushes him and takes the job, so be it. And then if neither of those guys can firmly be that guy in 25, maybe you upgrade in 26. But I'll say this, if Braxton is the guy and plays well this year, it's a luxury because you have 2 tackles on rookie contracts. So I would attack the interior first, but it really just depends how they feel about Braxton Jones. Lucas, does Ronnie Stanley become a plan if Trey Smith isn't available? This is a good question, and I do think there's a scenario where it could. And you might say, really? One's a tackle, one's a guard. Well, I think the Bears could look at this and say, all right, we know 100% Darnell Wright's going to be a starter at right tackle. The other 4 spots are up for grabs. We're comfortable with Braxton Jones, but if we don't get Trey Smith and we're willing to pay big dollars to Ronnie Stanley, maybe you sign Ronnie Stanley and then a different guard or center, and then in the draft you fill another guard spot. Or maybe they feel like Braxton Jones could kick inside for a year. So I definitely think that could be the case. Alaric Jackson with the Rams is another name to monitor. He's been their left tackle the last couple of years. I could see them letting him walk. So I do think that is on the board, Lucas. Would I bet on the Bears signing Stanley? No. But it wouldn't rule it out. Here's where the scenario becomes realistic. If Trey Smith gets re-signed before free agency, because then you can pivot your plans, and then maybe they say, you know what, we're going to take a swing at Ronnie Stanley. DC Viper, Cullen pointed out a few players to watch in the draft. So what players do you think aren't getting enough praise that the Bears should look into? Well, shout out to Cullen. Cullen's draft crushes every live show. This is live right now, so if you're watching currently on Friday, unless he didn't do his job today. And he's telling me, oh, no, I'm ready to go. He should have at least another one here, so stay tuned for that. But we'll do some kind of draft sleepers segment later on. I don't want to like sell a pipe dream here on that front, but there's always guys that are just diamonds in the rough that could play some roles on this football team. All right, appreciate all the questions here on Chicago Bears Now. Be sure to give me a follow on Twitter, on Instagram, at HGramNFL. Go ahead and give me a follow. If you have more questions, hit me up over there. It is at HGramNFL.